How can someone miss their life whilst they're living it? The gap between living and thinking about living. That gap is where the anxiety grows. How can you be on the wrong path if your feet are there? Hi everyone, it's Isha Judd here and welcome to our podcast. Today it's very interesting. The big question is, what is the purpose of our life? And if you like the podcast, don't forget to push like and please subscribe. And of course, Elizabeth will be joining us with her very innate wisdom and sharing her thoughts on this subject. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi everyone, I'm back and hello fans, and I'm very excited to be here again. You know, I've got lots of questions, but the first thing is a question because something stayed with me today and it didn't leave even after my nap. And normally after my nap, which is very long, it tends to leave. It was at the ice cream place. I remember the ice cream place because I was doing my usual very, very important supervision, making sure that nothing fell accidentally on the floor. If it did, I would feel obliged to clean it up. And behind me, there was two girls talking. Not loud, but not soft either. Like people that forget that they're in a happy place. At first, I wasn't listening, but their voices had a tight sound, like when humans smile but their chest doesn't. One of them said, I don't know what I'm meant to do with my life. And this landed strange in me because life was already happening. They were eating it. I kept thinking, what does it mean to not know what to do with life when life is there in your mouth, and especially when it's ice cream? This is a happy moment. It was like they were somewhere else, but sitting right there. Then the other one said, how do we know if we're on the right path? And I looked at their feet and they were just under the table. Nobody looked lost, but they felt lost. I don't understand how someone can feel lost while holding an ice cream. It felt like they were visiting a future that wasn't nice to them. They spoke about plans, careers, expectations, but the more they talked, the smaller they sounded, like their voices were shrinking, like they were under extreme pressure. But pressure from where? Nobody was pressuring them. They were just two girls with melting ice cream. Then they started to talk about something they called success. And they went quiet after, like the words scared them. I tried to understand success. I thought about my friends, Mate and Wallu, who run after cows all day, like it's the best game ever. And the chihuahuas that guard the house like tiny little police officers. And Gina, she just exists beautifully. And me, I keep sofas emotionally supported. No one has meetings about success, and nobody ever, ever looks worried.
Yes, Betchie, it's very funny because the girls weren't enjoying the ice cream, but they were worrying about a future where they had to prove their worth. The thing is, with humans, we're always focused on what we're going to do with our lives instead of what we're going to be. And quite often they don't think about what can we enjoy in our lives. They think, how can we succeed? They haven't learned the art of being in the moment and enjoying everything, like Mate, like Walu, like the Chihuahuas, like Gina. They're just doing their job, but their job's natural for them. And for them, it's not a job. For them, it's just what they do, and it's how they're being. And especially you, Betchie, you take such good emotional support of the couch. This is for sure. So the question is, why do humans feel that they have to plan, achieve, and succeed? Because we've been educated to do that. We're not educated to try a multitude of different experiences, to expand our mastery of life, to enjoy ourselves. We have to have programs and plans and careers, and then we have to focus on being the best in those careers. So you see the humans looking pressured, and you say there's no one there pressuring them, but they've been pressured since the day they were born. They're always asked, what are you going to do when you grow up? They're never asked, how are you going to be when you grow up? And this is a fundamental question, because how I'm going to be defines my life. If I'm going to be happy, that defines my life. If I'm going to be in peace, that defines my life. If I'm going to be giving and loving and supportive of myself and others, that defines my life. And that for me is success. But the pressure you see the humans under is because they need to prove themselves. They have to live up to not just their expectations, but the expectations of society and the voices in their heads. And that's why nothing's ever good enough. And yes, it's true. How can you be on the wrong path if your feet are there? Obviously, it's the correct path. There's no other path to be on, but the path you're on in this moment. And what defines you is how you're being in this moment, not how you're going to be in the future.
And another thing I notice is my friends, they don't measure themselves through outcomes. I kept thinking about it later while I was lying on the couch. If I woke up tomorrow and didn't flatten my pillows, would my life be wrong? It didn't feel wrong. It just felt like another day. So I couldn't understand why they felt like their life depended on choosing correctly. I think they were afraid, but not of now. They were afraid of the future. There was a moment they both went quiet and just stared at their cups. And it was not because the ice cream had emptied, it was still there. It felt like they were looking inside themselves and they didn't like what they saw. And that part stayed with me. I didn't feel sad for them because I get very, very sad, but more like curious. How can someone miss their life whilst they're living it? That sounds very, very lonely.
Okay, Betchy, I'm going to try to explain the complexities of humanity. And, you look at everything so simplistically and it's so beautiful what you perceive. And you're right. You're always right. We complicate ourselves so much. And one of the biggest fears humans have is of making a mistake. They're scared that if they don't choose the right path, that they're never going to reach their goal. But what they don't know is that life is an experience and we need to experience many different things. And not everyone knows exactly what they want to do with their lives. And sometimes they think they know what they want to do with their lives, and then circumstances change. So, the most important thing is to anchor in love and move into action and be excellent at everything you're doing in every moment and to give it 100%, but not with the fear of making a mistake, with the openness that you're going to learn. Because life is a mastery. It's not something that you instantly can do perfectly. We have to be apprentices. We have to grow. We have to learn. But the most important thing is we have to enjoy each moment, because if we're not enjoying it, what worth does life have? Life's to be enjoyed. And there will be storms and there will be difficulties, like we talked about in the last podcast. But we have to embrace that as well, because that's what makes us strong and gives us a multitude of experiences. So the pressure we create ourselves, it's something in our heads. We don't flow, we become rigid, and we feel afraid.
Yeah, now I understand. Maybe that's why they looked cold. Not from the ice cream, but from thinking too far ahead. Isha, do humans ever relax about life? Fullness means like when I'm lying in the sun and nothing is missing. Maybe those girls weren't really asking about careers. Maybe they were asking each other if they are okay. I hope that they find it, because I think they're perfectly okay. And sometimes humans think too big about life. So I'll say small things and see if small things can help.
That's such an innocent observation, but very, very profound. Many humans don't realize that life is not something waiting for them later. They think life is a destination instead of a process. So while life is touching their senses, their minds are touching the future. And the future is an idea, it's not an experience. When someone says, I don't know what to do with my life, often what they mean is, I don't know how to feel secure inside myself yet. It's rarely about activity, it's more about identity and about belonging to themselves.
So you notice that there's a gap?
Yes, Betchie, the gap between living and thinking about living. That gap is where the anxiety grows, not because life's confusing, but because the mind tries to control everything and not allow it just to naturally unfold. Life moves like a river. The mind tries to turn it into a map. A map can be useful, but it's never the river itself.
Yeah, and the pressure? Where does the pressure come from? No one was pressuring these girls. You need to explain to me, where does it come from?
You know, Betchy, pressure can be inherited from family dreams, from cultural ideas, from images of success they grew up seeing. Sometimes pressure is not spoken, it's absorbed like air, invisible but influential, and also very understandable. Humans want to feel safe. They just look for safety in the future instead of on the inside. They look for it on the outside.
And success? Isha, can you explain to me what success is? It seems quite overrated, this success.
Betchy, success as humans define it often has more to do with approval than fulfillment. Many are taught that success means being admired, achieving visible things, proving something, but the heart measures differently. The heart feels, am I at peace? Am I enjoying my life? Do I feel connected? These answers rarely appear in a resume, and yet they define how our life feels from the inside. And they're fundamental, or else There's no success, Betchie. It's an illusion. You know, Betchie, maybe you can help humans step out of the illusion. Maybe you can give them some tips on how to enjoy their lives more in each moment.
Yeah, Isha, I can tell them how to do this because I live like this. And I'm not trying to show off, but really it's not very complicated. And I know that before I had my own podcast, I didn't have many responsibilities, but even now that I have my own podcast, I still work by listening, but I don't get stressed and I have absolutely no problem relaxing and sleeping. Now, I'm going to explain. If your mind is loud, listen to something simple. If you feel pressure, ask, who is pushing? If you feel you must become someone, remember, trees don't try to become trees. And if you feel not enough, start with one small kindness to yourself. And maybe the most important kindness. If you are listening to life instead of chasing it, you are already closer than you think.
Wow, Betchie, that was impressive. And yes, you're doing a great job with your podcast. And I hope that the fans are liking it. And I'll leave it up to you to end the session and you can talk to them in person. I'm Isha Judd.
And I'm Betchie. Now, if you like my podcast, I want you to push like, and you also need to subscribe because I'm trying to have success here. And I hope to see you next week. Bye for now. And remember, trees don't try to be trees.